In the previous video, we talked about something extremely important. I would say the most important thing, because there's a reason why you are watching these videos here. It's because you want something. And how do you get there the fastest way possible? What is the one thing that you can focus on that will mean the most to whether you get there or not, or how fast you get there, and how happy you are as you get there? What is the one thing? Right? That's the previous video. Go back and watch that. This is gold, right? Took me freaking decades to figure this out. So listen to it and really think about it. But we also left from the previous video with a question that, just to recap, you want something, you have a goal, and there's two ways that can influence you. Either you get frustrated and negative about the current situation because suddenly this is not good enough because you can see something better, right? Or you get enthusiastic, live in a positive state of expectancy, right? You want that. It's just, you get passionate about it, right? You start learning stuff so you can get there. It just influences your way in the most amazing way, or the most of terrible ways. One of the two. Most people, because we are prone to be negative, because we are survival creatures who've been living in nature for most of our existence, and the reason why we survived and thrived was because we were looking for the negatives. What could go wrong? Where's the tigers? Was that sound? Was that a predator? What could happen tomorrow that I need to prepare for today? So we are built to be negative. Nothing wrong with that, but you're just living in a reality where that is not necessary anymore. In fact, the opposite is necessary if you want what you want, if you want to get to that point, right? So you need to upgrade yourself. You need to be on the right side of that fence, have your goal, and then live in all the positive emotions that goal can give you instead of the negative. How do we do that? Well, it's a choice. And most people say, it's not a choice how I feel. That's not what I said. I said, whether you feel you are on the cool side of the fence, the great side of the fence, or the negative is a choice. So what do I mean? Well, first of all, the first thing we need to establish is that if you believe it's not a choice, whether you are happy or not, it's not a choice. Think about that. It's really not a choice if you believe it isn't. It's not some clever personal development phrase here. I'm really stating the fact that if you are convinced that how you feel about feeling anything is not a choice, then it isn't a choice. You are totally at the effect, and you don't know. You're not stupid. You just don't know. So anything that happens just influences you in the most destructive of ways. It's just, you're not in control. Over here, let's say you believe that it's a choice, and you really do. Why do you believe it? Because you have proof that it's a choice. It's your experience because of your past and how you felt frustrated, you felt different emotions, or something happened, and you still were in control inside. If that is your past, your experience, and your strong belief, then you always are in control. You have a choice. So over here, you don't believe you have a choice, so you don't. Over here, you believe you have a choice, so you have a choice. Does it make sense? See, this is a hypnosis, and this is a hypnosis. This is basically an illusion, quote unquote. This is also an illusion. Or is it? What is? It doesn't matter. Because if you believe you have a choice, what happens? If you believe you have a choice, then there's an adult inside that is responsibility. It's responsible for what goes on. There's an executive level in the brain that can feel something. Emotions are created in the mid-level and the bottom level, amygdala of the brain. And then there's an executive level that says, I feel frustrated. And there's an adult that can, and this is really a really nice picture, is to imagine that child and the adult. If there's a child that's frustrated and you really love that child 1,000%, how would you act in relation to that child? You would go, oh, what do you want? Oh, so it's great you want that. Oh, and now you really want it. That's pretty positive. You haven't given up yet. You're frustrated and you want to get it. Okay, what can we do? What have you tried? Oh, I tried this and this and that, and it doesn't work, and I'm sick and tired of it. Okay, let's see if there's another way of achieving what we want. Constructiveness, responsibility, right? Ability to respond to the situation. The second you are only the child, the emotional reaction to the challenge, then there's no responsibility. Nothing. You're just reacting. There's something out there that pushes a button inside you and you're gone. And if that is where you're living, then you are in constant danger of ending up in a depression. Why? Because a depression is sadness, frustration, anger that is uncontrollable. And then it loops on itself. That's a depression. It's so hard to get out of because there's nobody in there that believes there's anything to do about it. So the emotion itself gives you a worldview. Everything is depressing. Everything is just sad and there's no hope. But all those beliefs come from the basic feeling of being depressed. Those are hormones that's squirting around your bloodstream, and the whole brain thinks like that, creating more depression, more negative emotions. And so it loops on itself until you either kill yourself or the body just gets enough of it and does something else, which happens very often. So, but if there is somebody in there, then there is a strong sense that whatever happens, and when I say whatever happens, I mean emotions, I mean outside challenges on your way to your goal, and emotions that occurs. Those are also events. That's not you. Those are events. And if there's an adult inside of you, that loving, caring adult, then no matter what emotion you have, even if it's loss over a loved one, which is one of the worst situations most people can imagine, then there's still an adult. How would an adult react to a child that has a loss of a loved one? It's just totally sad, in despair. What would happen there? Oh, I can't be both. Well, if you've never been over here, you never heard those consoling voices inside of you. You never heard that adult in that situation say, oh, but just think about how wonderful that person was, and just dwell on it, and dwell on the poetic feelings that are inside of sadness. That this sadness is appreciation turned inside out. That there's love in there. There's all kinds of good stuff in sadness. But we don't see that if sadness is all there is, if there's no adult in there to hold our shoulder and console us. And so this is so important. This is the core, right? And so how do you get from one zone to another? How do you get from the place of believing absolutely that you have no choice to get it? Well, you start experimenting with small emotions, right? You start getting conscious, because that's the whole difference here. That the unconscious inclination of just being negative about whatever happens on the way to your goal, or just being negative about your situation, that has to be counteracted by a conscious effort. When I say conscious, I just mean being alert to the fact that that's how you're built. Oh, I'm negative. I get out of bed this morning. This is a real situation from my life. This morning, I get out of bed. I don't feel positive. I feel sluggish and right? And then I know that is my natural inclination, believe it or not, right? So I can do something else. I can say, old boy, this is going to be a great day. There's lots of cool things, and how can you make it even better, right? That kind of, like there was an adult in the room that could kind of, pat my back and, support me and getting to the place where I'm feeling good, right? And you do it with small things, and in the morning when you don't want to get out of bed, that's a perfect training situation. Why do I say training? Because you have to counteract the pattern that you are born with of negativity and install a new pattern. And you have to do that all the time. You are never left off the hook. It's a second-to-second discipline with whatever happens to you and the reaction that's inside of you. And I'm not talking about, you give me 2 seconds and I can just, get around that frustration, get around that sadness. I'm not sad anymore. I'm talking about being there for you. I'm not talking about pretending that there is no such things as challenges or sadness or anything like that. Right? Taking everything into consideration and then training yourself to be that adult instead of leaning into whatever emotion you have with no, uncritical. Does this make sense? I'm not saying this is easy, but if there's one area where you could focus that would mean the most to your life, it's that. Right? It is that. Because that's the core. This is what determines whether you will have goals in your life and whether you actually want to move towards them or just forget about it because it feels awful to want to get to another place than this, right? You feel the frustration, all the negative states. This is what determines whether you move, how fast you move, because positive emotions drive you in the most amazing way, makes you creative, makes you much more productive. Whereas the negative states are really, everything happens in spite of those emotions, right? Of stress, of negativity. So this determines the speed. This determines whether you have a future or not. This determines how great it is and what emotions you live in right now. This is living in the now, not just living in the now, but living in an awesome now, right? This is everything. This is the quality of your life. So stick with me and stick with this channel because I'm going to talk a lot more about this and give you a lot of more insights and strategies and what worked for me in this battle against my natural negative inclinations. So this is important. So don't forget to subscribe and go download our free course on the website. And I hope to see you in the next video.